Hello and welcome, chaotic people. This is the Long Rest Podcast. My name is Kyle, and these are my co-hosts, Jackson and Rob. Today, we are going to be talking about how to get your ideas from the drawing board to your table. Come sit with us. Jackson, what do you have on the drawing board?
Kyle, thank you for the introduction. I have a lot on the drawing board, if I'm being honest with you. And most importantly for our viewers, I have 4 topics on the drawing board for us that we're going to bring to this here table.
All right.
And hopefully get some good discussion, some information for those of you who are looking into dungeon mastering or, any of the subjects that we tend to cover on this podcast. But kind of to set them up for that, Rob, I gave you, I believe, a minute last time, maybe 30 seconds. I'm going to key you back to 30 seconds.
Okay.
For the new listeners, where are they? Who are we? What are we doing?
We are Otter Chaos Games. So we are developing epics that can be bought for game stores and people to pull together groups of 5 to 6 tables, each with their own DM and a master head DM, a captain DM in control that's going to have all the teams working together on a common goal. If a D&D group is a dinner party, then this is a kegger.
Beautiful. That was pretty much bang on 30 seconds.
All right.
Well done. So, for the new viewer, welcome. For any returning viewers, thank you for continuing to listen. We really appreciate your support, and we're really happy to have you back around the fire. So, kind of to hit on our first topic, we feel like a lot of the questions that people have getting integrated into D&D, working their way into the system, is the intimidation factor of knowing that you've done enough. Right? That your preparation is solid, that you're ready to run. So I just wanted to ask you guys kind of to kick us off. When does prep stop and when does the game begin for you? At what point do you make that transition?
I'll go first.
Sure.
If you want me to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's such a driving question. We did a talk at
Panel.
local con yesterday, and that was the driving question from a lot of people. How do I prep? How far do I prep? How much detail do I have to prep? I think at the end of the day, you have to remember the story is a group effort between you and the players. So you have to be ready for them to take you a little off script, and that is scary. So the way I handle it is really simple. I know my NPCs well. I know the motivation of all the monsters, of all the creatures that they're going to interact with. And because I do that, I'm ready to ad-lib when I need to. Now, on top of that, I do have 3 or 4 story beats that I've got planned for a particular session. Some of those could be combat, some of those could be other interaction skill checks, so on and so forth. But the point is that I'm ready with enough content to handle those things, and if they just walk in the completely different direction, then I've got a way with my NPCs to carry the story forward.
Okay.
Even. Does that make sense?
You're kind of using the NPCs as key pins.
Right.
So this character has this motivation. They want these things. If the player is straight towards that, they interact with this character in this way. Away from that, they interact this way.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's a really good way to frame it.
Yep.
So let's take that model and let's pull it back just a little bit. It's your first session. First session ever, which happened when? Before or after the crucifixion?
During.
Oh my goodness.
I know, that's terrible, right? It took a while. We were just sitting there,
Just right under St. Dismas.
For 3 days.
Oh my God. Are y'all going to make me cut that one?
No, you can. You can keep that
That's
one.
fine.
You can keep that one.
Oh my goodness.
I was making
What you guys make me cut and what you guys let me keep in is really confusing.
No, that one's fine. That one flies.
That's
That one
fine.
flies. I'll respond in the comments to anyone who's upset. I'll take that one.
You're a Christian making a joke out of a Christian story. It's fine.
Point being, though, if it's your first session, right? And you don't have.
Yeah, you started it with the crucifixion.
I know.
mean,
That's
you
on
could have
me.
gone with anything
That's on
else.
me.
We were talking about Babylonian period.
But
last
I was born in the year that transitioned us into a new millennium, and I was thinking you were probably born around when we actually learned how to keep time.
That's okay. I remember how that one young lady that we work with was born a year before you, and she likes to flex on how she's lived in 2 millennia and you've only lived in 1.
Yes, I didn't have to live in the lamer one. I got only the good one. Okay. All right, let's imagine. All right. It's your first session. Mm-hmm. Christ has just gone up. You're left all alone. You've got nothing to do for 3 days.
Okay.
How do you know when you're like set up without these established characters, where you've kind of built out all this motivation and all this context? How do you know that what you've written, even be it 3 characters and 3 adventures, 3 events, is enough?
You know, we got a great question about that on our channel. One of our first questions and all that, and it's you know, and he made a point that we made in the was made in the panel as well. You don't have to have the whole world built, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want to start off in a tavern, or you want to start in Medias Rex, in the middle of the woods or something like that, wherever you're going to start, you start there, and you make sure that there's enough detail to keep people interested in that little part. For me, that means making sure there's a half dozen NPCs that they can bounce off of, plus a good fight or 2, and you know, enough of a storyline. You know, the NPCs can't just be fleshed out characters; they've also got to have a desire, something that they want that will bring them in conflict with the PCs, and or are going to potentially mesh with the PCs. So, you know, don't have to be adversaries. They could be on the PC side as well. So if we have all of that.
Enemies to lovers trope.
Not again. I've had enough of this.
I missed it.
He said enemies to lovers trope.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh,
Another
okay.
classic.
Okay.
But I get your point. I mean, you handle your key details.
Right.
You kind of make sure that you understand the skeleton of your story, and you leave it up to the players to really color in the lines.
Right.
That makes sense.
You know, if I'm thinking up a whole new world or something like that, I've already thought of other things that I want to do from the grand scheme of things and whatnot, but you can only feed so much to the players at once. And so you've got to feed it to them a little at a time, or you're just having some big exposition dump. And so if they're in a tavern, they don't care what style government's going on right now. They care how much the beer is. And they care about who's playing, and they care about whose pockets they can pick, and so on and so forth. So you work small and then grow up from there.
Makes sense. Kyle, you agree?
Yeah. One of the things I see with when you're running a first session of a campaign is you don't focus so much on the story, you focus on the characters and their interactions with each other. Everything else is frankly background for your table to get to know itself. Because if their characters don't have any kind of rapport, then there's going to be all sorts of irritating conflict. I have had many problems with players who don't like each other in real life. I will not go into those stories right now, entertaining as some of them are.
They're entertaining, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to avoid that sort of situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
And I mean,
we've all had those problems. So.
First off, if you have a bunch of people who don't like each other playing a game, find new people.
So, I mean, you raised an interesting point, though. How do you, as the DM, facilitate that? I mean, if you have experienced players that kind of know what an RP session 1 looks like, or session 0, but how do you facilitate that from your seat?
Well, every time I've ever made the players all need to meet each other, I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can get people in one room.
Yeah.
But the most effective and the one that I like to use is you are all part of this guild, an adventurer's guild. Some of you may have worked with each other before, some of you may not, but you are all allies within this organization. Kind of like how they do in Pathfinder with the Pathfinder Society or the Starfinder Society.
Sure.
Like, hey, you may not all know each other, but you're all part of the same group.
Sure.
And first off, that gets players to introduce themselves to each other. And secondly, if no one's talking, then maybe you just don't have a group that likes to roleplay.
Yeah,
and you
those
need
do
to
exist.
you need to focus on something else. Some people like to be prompted into their role play. You have an NPC come up. Maybe they're the quest giver. Maybe there's some drunken villager who's commenting on a particular unusual PC's unusual traits. But whatever it happens to be, either you start the role play with something else or you let the players talk amongst themselves if that's what they like.
Sure.
But you have to get them comfortable with each other if they're people that don't know each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the things I'm saying are for a friend group, but if you just got a bunch of random people together who have never met in real life, then, I mean, we saw it at the panel yesterday. We started with, does anyone have any questions for the panel? And crickets, yeah. And at the end of the panel, I mean, everyone was raising their hands.
Yeah, we had to end, and we had, but
Because you had rapport.
yeah, there were, just spending 45 minutes in the room together builds some level of rapport. So, one argument is that conflict brings people together too, right?
Sure.
So I have actually tried with some success a couple times to start the game by everyone's ready, you've got your character, roll initiative.
Wow, yeah, fair.
Yeah, I know. And so the story, the last one was they're all out collecting bounties on goblin ears, and they're out in the middle of a forest, and they all heard the same scream, went to investigate, and there was a battle waiting for them. And so they don't even know each other, right? So but it's clear that there's some horde of small creatures that are clearly doing things that they don't want to see happen,
Like attacking a caravan.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I had. A bunch of goblins attacking a caravan, and they jumped in and fought the goblins, and afterwards that seemed to make it a little easier for everyone to go, oh well, that was a good job there. That magic missile saved my butt. Thank you.
I've done something kind of similar. My favorite one, it's very in line with what you said, Kyle. I actually like bringing them together by force. The favorite one I've done is having I might have mentioned this on this podcast before. If I have, I'm sorry. But having all the PCs start in jail together. They're in the same cell.
Yeah, you did that. I think maybe the first episode.
Maybe so. But
that's okay. We know you
It's
do
still a
other
good one.
things than that. Well, we don't, but we're going to assume that on camera.
I'll say it to the camera again, though, just for the record. A reason why that can be beneficial is something that I think you both hit on without saying directly, is when you do this, you integrate your players into the world because you give them the opportunity to explain why they're there and where they fit. So combat gives them their roles in what they do in the party. Specific RP interaction lets them know kind of what their character's personality is, how will they handle things. The thing I liked about the prison example is I told them your crime doesn't have to have actually happened. It's an accusation. You could be innocent or not. It's up to you. But that gave the players a lot of creative license to decide where their character fits specifically within the society as well. Whether or not they were like scorned or if they were the person scorning the society, so on and so forth. And I think that definitely makes sense. I didn't even consider, Kyle, that really the best thing to do to get out of the prep stage, and it's kind of a subconscious if you've run a lot of games, is get the players talking, get them at the table, see what they're like, feel them out. Because if you sit your players down and you've got this super combat heavy adventure and you're ready to roll, and they spend the first hour talking about the clothes that they're wearing and debating,
or they want to go shopping,
exactly. Then maybe you go, okay, I need to re-vector. They're not going to enjoy a grueling 7-hour combat.
Yeah, I know. We've all had those 4-hour shopping sessions. So
I had a if you guys watch this, just know I'm talking about you. I had a group of guys who.
What do you mean if?
No,
they're your players.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, all my players, you get a free inspiration point whenever you watch this episode.
Okay, see, that's extortion, bribery. That's got to be illegal.
I don't think my players. Well, actually, you know what? No, they do know about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've told them the name of it though.
Well, I mean, we're only on episode 4.
That's
so.
true. That's true. Well, in any case, my players, they were at a magic shop, and I've used this as an example to future groups of how shopping in D&D does not work. And I've tried. It was difficult because we were in character. I didn't want to break them out of it and have this whole explanation. But they kept asking this question. And every time I would describe an item, they go, what's on the shelf next to it? And at some point, I had to be like, listen, as cute as this is, and as much as I can do this all day,
Yeah.
this is not the way the game works.
Yeah.
It's not like a video game where you just keep scrolling through the inventory until you see something you like. The idea is that you have an idea of what you want, and you can take a guess. And I'm happy to provide you random examples of things in the shop. But I do remember. You take a guess how long that went.
Oh my gosh, hours.
Yep.
2.5 hours.
Yep.
Been there.
Of what's on the shelf next to it.
Oh yeah.
It
When my
was
guys want to go shopping.
brutal.
Yeah, when my guys want to go shopping, I'm like, if it's a mundane item, you can find it. If it's a magic item, I'll roll percentile die. And just depending on where they are. If they're in a village, it better be a 1 on a D10, or a D20. And if it's major city, Waterdeep or Greyhawk City or something like that, okay, it's 7 or 8, but you're going to spend all day going through different stories or stores to find it. Going back to your idea of starting people in prison, which seems to be a thing for you.
He likes the shackles.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh.
Wow! I did not know you were taking it there, Kyle. I'm not the one in prison though.
We said more about jokes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right, he's not a masochist. He's a sadist.
oh my gosh.
I feel like between
like-
the two, it's probably the better position.
Oh my gosh. A masochist and a sadist get married, and the masochist goes, "Oh, hurt me, beat me," and the sadist goes, "No."
How long has that one been around?
Yeah, that's what. Hey, I'm here for the old jokes, right?
All right. Going back to the
The story. Well, if you force, as you say, everybody together, I was just thinking you could do that on a boat.
True.
On a caravan.
True.
I'm certain there are other things that we can think of. An airship, if we want to go steampunky, which certain people will start grimacing if we do. But
I like steampunk.
oh, do you?
Yes.
I didn't.
You
I got
don't
that
like
impression.
steampunk.
No, I love steampunk.
You're Magitech. You always clarify that it's Magitech.
I clarify that it's Magitech because he doesn't like calling the stuff in Aryan Tor steampunk.
No, I like steampunk.
Yeah, but every time I would call it
I have
steampunk,
all those
he
Girl
would say-
Genius comics back
I
there.
know. I know that you like,
don't like those?
steampunk.
No. I misheard you.
Okay,
I know that you like steampunk.
right,
But when we were building Aryan Tor
right.
and we were doing stuff with the spirit wood and I kept describing it as steampunk, you said, I feel like that's not the right word. This doesn't have the metal and steam. It's wood that is magical, so we should give it a different name. And the name we came up with was Magitech.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, our world definitely has a steampunky vibe, but because it is wood, not metal, we went with Magitech. So, but that doesn't mean I don't like Magitech or
Steampunk is awesome.
steampunk. Yeah,
Yeah.
steampunk's cool. Blah.
Hey, we made it through that one.
I know.
We made it through that one.
So, in case, yeah, I like this idea. Going back to the original point of, if you stick everybody in a confined space and let them, figure it out themselves. I guess the last thing that we haven't talked about is having your characters or your players have some sort of backstory. Now, that's hit or miss, and you just got to roll with it. You'll say, hey, I really want backstories, and you'll nag them, and you might get half your players to write backstories, and I had a player recently that was writing me a freaking book. But the ones that write you 1 or 2 pagers that are easily understandable and digestible, I mean, those are great story hooks. You can kind of bring those right in.
Yeah. Very easy to leverage that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the players you want.
Absolutely.
I've had some people give me some of the most vague and esoteric backstories ever. Like a new player who was joining us said, my brother is super powerful, but he's scared that his enemies will find me and use me against him. So he keeps me locked away like a princess in a tower. But it turns out that this shack in the middle of the woods that she was hiding in was actually a simulated forest underneath a destroyed modern city.
I don't know. That sounds kind of cool to me.
It's so cool.
That's very imaginative.
Blade Runner.
I don't know.
It's so cool, but in a very fantasy world, where did the bunker come from? How are you simulating all of this without magic? And why is there a destroyed modern city?
Why does it have to be without magic?
Well, because she specifically said without magic.
Well,
Yeah, I don't deserve that.
I'm gonna actually take us somewhere because this
Okay.
is actually, I think, very relevant. So, Kyle, you're an experienced DM. You get that request, right? Here's your backstory. The question I kind of wanted to hit on was to ask for your tips on being confident at the table. So, say you've got your game, you figured out your key elements. How do you run it, dude? How do you run that? How did you go from that backstory into the game?
I just started making things. Actually, almost immediately after they got into the city, the whole time I was going kind of, oh, how do I do anything with this? Because this was 1 year, maybe 2, into my being a DM, and I was still finding my footing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that is actually where, was it last episode or the episode before where we talked about the New York squirrel?
It was 2.
Episode before.
Yeah. That is when they got to the city, that's when she finds the squirrel. And I was like, you know what?
Oh, that was so
I
funny.
am just been him and Han this whole time. I'm going to throw in something funny.
Yeah.
And I did. And it became a linchpin of the session. Mm-hmm. And they quickly exited the premise of the destroyed modern city. They didn't want to explore it. Got right back into the main story. I was not really paying attention to travel time or how, in fact, they got to a destroyed modern city and then back to the forest where they were beforehand. That was a mistake on my part. But one of the things that you do, or at least that I do, to keep confidence in a game is when you're on the back foot, throw in something that A, your players don't expect, and B, that you find interesting to do.
Sure.
And I mean, I could come up with a dozen other examples of when I just started throwing in things because I'm not sure what I'm doing next. But
Yeah.
the point is, if you're not sure what you're doing, try something that is at the very least interesting to you and see where it goes.
Sure.
And if it doesn't work, try something else.
Throw them a curveball.
Yep.
Makes sense. Rob, what would you say to that?
Oh gosh, running a D&D game, being a DM is like throwing a party, and I think we all have thrown a party and felt kind of nervous leading up to the party. Have I got enough of this? Have I done enough of that? I think being responsible for everybody else's fun is just kind of natural, and so of course you want to be as prepped as you can, but at the end of the day, I think you just gotta give yourself some grace. Accept the fact that you're nervous, and accept the fact that most everybody would be in that situation. It's not abnormal. I mean, heck, I've been playing since, before we had, moving type. I just wanted to help you out.
Yeah, no, I was
Since
looking.
you kind of fumbled the whole Christ thing.
I didn't really know. I was pretty good, honestly. I can take it back further if you need to be.
What, do you think that was a good one? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well,
Hey,
I would have
majority.
gone for the Crusades, but
Well, the Crusades is later. I didn't want to give him too much credit.
fair enough. Yeah.
oh my goodness. Well, we were talking Mesopotamians last
That's
time.
true.
so-
I brought it up.
Okay.
I gave you some credit there.
So yeah, I've been playing D&D since we climbed out of the trees. And after all that time, yeah, I still feel a little bit of nervousness. Do I have enough and whatnot? I'm not the ad-libber that Kyle is. He's obviously quite good at it, but I guess I've built confidence over the years that whatever comes up, I'll be able to manage it. But for what I found that really works for me as someone who doesn't do a lot of ad-libbing is again, having good characters, having the story beats, having an idea what I want to do with those story beats, and then just kind of going from there.
Sure. So you're kind of, to correct me if either of you think I'm mischaracterizing here. You guys are kind of opposite sides of the same coin.
Yep.
So Rob, you want to tackle the problem via not preparing nuance, but preparing structure, just having an idea of what characters want and what should happen,
Right.
and then you fill in the blanks from there. And Kyle, your kind of tip for confidence is if and when you feel like that fails. and you're starting to lose ground with them and you don't know where it's going, or rather you don't really like where it's going, you throw them a curveball just to give the characters, the players, something to interact with, and that gives you leverage back to kind of get in the game again, get your feet under you.
Yeah. One of the other things is, I wouldn't necessarily call it a problem player, but sometimes the players will just run away with whatever you're doing.
Sure.
And sometimes as a DM, I've definitely done it. Is just letting the players go, letting them run away with whatever is going on. And sometimes that's a good thing. You're letting them control part of the story. You're letting them experience the things that they want to experience. But there comes a certain point where the cleric has created a train made out of bones in a dungeon and then gave it sentience, while the fighter has made catapults that launch flames, and the ranger has tamed some slimes using sign language, and you just go, what am I doing?
Right. what is the point?
what am I doing here? Yeah. And there's a certain point where if you let it go too far, I mean, you've kind of completely lost control of the situation.
Sure.
And so there's a moment where maybe if you're getting overwhelmed, unless your group is not nice to you, then you say, look, I need a minute to go think about whatever just happened. And my players enjoy it when I say that, because I always go, yeah, he knows. There is a stool in the back of our house by a workbench that whenever they do something so ridiculous that I have just completely lost whatever I was thinking and I have no way to react to it, I'll just get up from my chair, sit in the stool, and every one of them will cheer and go, yeah, we made Kyle go to the chair.
I can confirm this, right? I don't play in Kyle's game, but they play every Saturday night. And yeah, I can come in late Saturday. I can see people the rest of the week. And they're like, hey, we made Kyle go to the corner Saturday night. And they're super stoked about it.
You need to get one of those dunce hats from like the old cartoons.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Okay, like this is not me making an old joke.
Right.
Was that actually a thing?
Getting sent to the corner?
No, a hat that said dunce on it.
Well, no, they never made you do that. Although I will say I was taking my Cal 2 final in college, and I made that myself, and I wore that all the way down the road to the math building.
That's pretty funny.
Oh man, and it was finals week, right? So I was getting all sorts of honks and shouts, and dude, I know what you're going through. And I swear to God, I obviously had to take it off to get in the building, but I sat at my seat and I put that thing back on, and the professor was just like, oh.
No, because like this is a bit of an aside. I feel like there are a lot of cartoon things. First of all, I thought the spleen was a made-up organ for a long time from Looney Tunes.
For real?
Well, because I thought it was like a euphemism. It'd be like, oh, my spleen, when someone got hit really hard. And I was like, oh, look, it's like you got hit somewhere sensitive. And now they're saying spleen. No, it's a real thing. But
yes, spleens are real.
Point being, it's
a conspiracy. The spleens aren't real.
They put that there.
The government wants you to think you have a spleen.
They put chemtrails in my spleen.
Y'all are right.
I feel like in these older cartoons especially, you know how you mentioned earlier today, you were like...
Oh, hold on a second. What are we calling an older cartoon?
Stuff from the 80s, 90s, 60s, that kind of stuff.
Like Bugs Bunny?
Yeah.
Like old Looney Tunes?
Yeah. With,
okay.
What's his name? The guy who does all the voices.
Mel Blanc?
Mel Blanc, there it is.
I was about to say Elmer Fudd.
Wow, I was about to say, you actually know who Mel Blanc is.
I've watched a lot of VHS Looney Tunes.
I'm not sure he knows who Walt Disney is at this point.
Just hang on, let me... The thing that I find interesting... and
you didn't know who Spielberg was.
That's true, you did know who Spielberg was. Well, Spielberg, I feel like you have to.
Yeah.
You got to.
All right, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting
No, you're good.
It is fun, though. Maybe we'll do an ASMR next.
No, let's not do that. We've done that enough. Unless it gets requested in the comments.
No. All of
Shameless plug.
Look at the camera.
Shameless plug. Earlier today, off the air, you mentioned like how you kind of need sometimes contextual help understanding random Gen Z stuff we bring.
Oh my God.
Bakugo and Deku and all this stuff, and trying to understand.
Don't start it again.
We're not starting it again. We're not starting it
Oh my
again.
gosh.
But what I was going to say is, it's honestly, it hadn't occurred to me till I just asked the dunce hat question.
Yeah.
There are so many things from those old cartoons that I feel like I just don't quite get why it's funny.
Yeah.
But it was always funny to me as a kid.
Yeah.
And then like the dunce hat, I never thought that. Like I always thought it was funny. I was like, what the heck is going on here?
Well, we had laugh tracks, so you knew when to laugh, right?
That's true. That's true.
You know,
I just find that interesting.
that reminds me of my own game. In my game, 3 of my players are a father and his 2 sons. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when someone at the table, especially the youngest among us, who when we started, he was 15 and he is now 18. Whenever he makes a really dumb Gen Z joke or someone else at the table does, his sons have to turn to him and explain, hey, this is what this joke means. And he'll go, surprisingly, he knows a lot more of them than most people his age, but still.
Yeah.
I was invited to play in a group with some millennial friends of mine, husband and wife, and they're young millennials, and so everyone at the table is millennial and Gen Z. I had to quit. I just could not keep up with all the references. I had no freaking clue what they were talking about most of the time.
Well,
But that's okay. Half the time I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Hell, we don't know what we're talking about either. I mean,
I know, but all my good Gen X references get cut.
like Jackson, what does mogging mean?
oh my goodness. Do you know what mogging is?
I know I've heard of it, but no, I guess I don't.
Viewing,
You've been mogged.
mogging, looks maxing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I do know what looks maxing is.
that's really impressive.
Yep.
I can't even lie.
Well, that guy keeps showing up on.
What guy?
I mean,
There are a couple guys this could be.
I think his name is Clavicle or Clavicle or something like that. But he keeps showing up on the news for doing some pretty crazy stuff to himself.
The plastic surgeon bros.
Yeah. Another topic for another time.
Oh, yeah.
On that one specifically.
or never. I'm throwing that out.
Or never.
Let's go with never. Never's a safer bet. So taking it back to our discussion of D&D for the viewers. We kind of hit on how do you have confidence over the table, and I think the natural segue to that, it kind of in the same realm. I think the worst nightmare, at least for me as a DM, is to be telling a story and then realize somewhere before the players do that these train tracks are headed off a cliff. I've got nothing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to land this bird. And in fact, I don't think I can land this bird. And I think all of us can acknowledge that pulling a Game of Thrones is a scary thing. Getting 7 seasons in and then being like,
I don't know how to finish this.
Just going to phone this in.
exactly. Just going to call it in.
I've
you know.
got to watch that.
A Game of Thrones, a Stranger Things.
No, don't even.
Oh, God.
And then,
Stranger Things go off the cliff?
People didn't like the ending. I haven't watched it yet because, well, we're still watching through it. But
That's true.
it was a little rough. I mean, there are many great examples of stories that have a great beginning, great rising action, up to a climax, and then they just can't stick it. For whatever reason, they don't know how to execute. So, my question to y'all, in the stories, I mean, obviously D&D, you can keep it going pretty much however long you want. And a lot of times these are over the course of years.
Right.
Can never tie every loose end. But how do you avoid these sort of scenarios where you're finding yourself driving the story off a cliff?
So, for me, whenever I realize I'm running out of material, I do one of 2 things. I am okay at improving. Some have told me I'm pretty good, but
Yeah, you're far better than okay.
I'll give it to you as well.
I don't like to toot my own horn. So I will
Good,
sometimes.
it smells a little.
Oh, only a little.
Quite a bit, actually. Oh, gosh. I thought that was Luna down there.
Anyway, sometimes I will just improv through the next few minutes, especially if I'm like near the end of the session.
Sure.
Then I'll drag something out a little bit. I'll improv just something vaguely interesting to stop them from moving on to what feels like the next plot point. Something non-committal. Or if I'm in like mid to early game and I just hit something where, man, they went so far off track, I have no idea what any of us are going to do. I mean, it's what I said earlier. just tell your players, hey guys, I'm running out of story. Give me 15 minutes. You guys go to the bathroom, get some more pizza, whatever you need to do. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to figure out where this is going.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get a lot done in 15 minutes when you're already in that mindset.
Yeah.
Or you just end the session early too, if it's that late in the session.
If you get to a point where it's like an hour in, sorry, not an hour in, but like an hour left, you can't drag it out that long. It doesn't feel like
Random encounter.
a random encounter is a good way.
Hour is a great time to
like-
just do a fight.
They're like in the king's main hall. You're like, troll breaks in.
Troll breaks in.
Well, how about a swarm of bats?
Yeah.
So
Sturgis.
Sturges. I was trying to think, what are the monsters that sit at the top and fall down on you? And Sturges, of course. You're
Hooked horrors kind of do that too, right?
Oh, yeah,
Jump
yeah.
down from you. Yeah.
Ropers. Ooh, ropers. Those
But yeah.
are terrifying. But yeah, so I mean, you just tell your players, hey, I need a little bit of time. Give me some, or you draw things out. And sometimes what I'll do is, which I have done in the past, which is not a great idea, just improv the next plot point. Because everything after, even if you plan it, you're working off of that improv plot point.
Sure.
For like a year when I first started DMing, I had no idea how I was going to do anything because I got dropped into being a DM. It was a job. I was getting paid. I had played D&D for like 3 months before that. Everything before that was a completely different system, and I'd never run.
I know, and they hired you and they said, go run that table.
Yeah, because the owner had a falling out with his former DM.
And he had no idea how to play D&D.
And he had no idea how to play D&D. There was a lot of problems at that business, but story for not right now and maybe never.
Hey, it got you your start.
Yeah, it got me my start, and I met a lot of people there who would become my friends, and we would play D&D. We still play every Saturday, but the thing is that I don't remember. Improving my whole point because, I mean, I was given this other guy's game with no warning, and I was not even told that he had been fired at first. And I kept thinking like, well, he's not here, neither are most of his players. I can't really run the campaign he gave me. It's a pre-made, and I just don't understand it. And it was, I think it was Into the Abyss, which that is not a module for first-time DMs. And I was just dropped into the deep end, and I had no idea what I was doing. I let my players get away with a lot of stuff. Just was like, magic items, here, take a legendary, you're level 2.
Yeah.
And it just got really confusing for everyone. And people were having a good time, but
you know, that's a great point. You were put in like the worst possible position, you know.
As a starter DM.
Yeah, as a starting DM. No experience, not all that familiar with the rules. Doing this for pay, so the quality expectation is that much higher and whatnot. And you know, having to make customers happy, and you did. So, I mean, I think a lot of that is testament of your innate ability and your determinedness, which, you know, was totally installed in you by your father. But
I was waiting for it.
where does he claim credit?
Wow, am I that transparent? But in all seriousness, I mean, it says a lot about you. And you know, with everything going that bad, people kept coming back. And frankly, I think you were growing the table from what your predecessor was doing.
I mean,
so that's a great message for all the viewers and whatnot, is that, you know, if you're having fun,
if you're having fun, you're not doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll jump in here and say too, I think that something that you hit on that I really want to kind of double down on. It's hard to get a picture when you're sitting at the beginning of how flexible D&D is.
Yeah.
Like, you write out your story, you have these, especially things like canned modules. I feel like they convey this sense of completeness that just is completely false.
Yeah.
True, you may have a start and you may have an end, but the line gets real squiggly in the middle and it goes all over the place. And for something like Game of Thrones, right? I think that they began, obviously, without the end in mind because they didn't have the end of those books.
Right.
So they just began, followed a great story, ran out and went, oh crap, and then they.
Martin just wasn't writing the books fast enough for them to.
100. Hey,
I mean,
he
took a break and was like working on a bunch of other projects and just never finished the Game of Thrones books. And the TV show went,
Yeah.
well, let's make something up.
Exactly. And I think this kind of
It
goes.
sucked.
Yeah, it did.
So.
This kind of goes earlier to what I think you were saying, Rob. Really, the same way the canned module does, you don't have to know the end of the story. But if you know roughly how things should resolve or might resolve, given characters' motivations, and you know where you're starting, you can improv an awful lot in the middle. I mean, an awful lot. There was one time I was running a game, and I had a character that, in my mind, was around for maybe another year in terms of how long we were playing. Just get wiped by a series of really, really well-cast spells in combination that happened to have insanely high rolls. There's nothing I could do. I mean, I could come up with some crap, but I'm not going to do that. And that player was, or that NPC was gone. And in that moment, a part of you panics a little bit. You're like, oh crap! Like there's so much other stuff that was supposed to be here. Like you were saying, Kyle, you just make it to the end of the session. Combat drags on a little longer. There's another wave of enemies, right? Session ends. By the time the smoke clears, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. It's so, especially if you've homebrewed a lot of that world, I think it's truly very easy to sit back and go, well, let's just add this. Let's change this. Let's tweak that. So my advice to the DM would always be, don't fret so long as you aren't already finishing the story. You can always lengthen the runway, and in fact, most of the time, it'll be fun when you do. Like what happened in your game. Even if you don't have all that much experience, you're probably better off than you think.
Well, this all was about, running off the rails and whatnot. And the first thing when you asked that question, I thought, well, but it's not the DM's responsibility only for the story, right?
Right.
So, I did at the beginning of the episode talk about have good NPCs and whatnot. But for all the memories I have playing and running campaigns and all that, my favorite is running Pathfinder Kingmaker with him and his buddies. And they had good NPCs that were well described. Could have been a little bit better, but they were enough that I could flesh them out from there. And then they had a big sandbox of locations and whatnot. So if I, was a new DM and whatnot, I would try to start small, good PCs, have some places that they could go to, and then as I get an indication which direction they're going, flesh out those a little bit more detailed. Not feel like they got to have the entire sandbox, fully described and whatnot before the first session and whatnot. But just keep working one or two sessions ahead of the players and whatnot to have all that confidence. And then every once in a while, they're still going to go, you know what? I know we were headed here, but we're going to go that way. And that's when you have to start leaning in on your improv skills. And then Kyle is. Hey, give me 15 minutes. I've said, hey, buy yourself some time if you're close to the end of the session by tossing a random encounter at them.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really kind of sneaky but works really well. Okay, I thought they were heading to go confront the ogre at the edge of town, but they decided to go shopping. Well,
Ogre's there.
the ogre's there. I mean, you can do that. That is a thing. Just because you wrote it one way doesn't mean it has to play out that way.
Oh, I love the teleporting encounter.
Yeah.
I have a couple guys who are real big on, when they run their games, they have very, very structured stuff, and I have huge respect for that. But I honestly, like you were saying, Kyle, sometimes a little randomness is fun. You're shopping, you're in the store, so are they. Yeah. Roll initiative.
I liken it to, hey, we've got this, story idea, but we don't know how it's going to play out until the players show up, add their 2 cents, and then all the randomness.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it fun as a DM, although it does make it a little more nerve-wracking at times and whatnot. On the one hand, you feel responsible. On the other hand, you're actually seeing the story unfold as well.
Yeah.
Writers talk about they get these characters in their mind and they start writing the book, and they say things like, "I can't wait to see how it comes out." Well, they've got good characters in their mind, and in the process of writing, the story is fleshing itself out because they're building those characters out more. So.
Yeah.
Nope, I completely forgot. I had
No
something
worries.
I wanted to say. Oh, right, there. That's what it was.
You're too young to be able to claim brain farts. You're on my turf, buddy.
His culture is not a costume, Kyle.
Respect my gray hairs. Those that are still left.
All right, Kyle, what you got?
Especially at the beginning of a campaign where you're trying to figure out how to start, and sometimes in the middle where you're not really sure what your next plot point should be to get to your projected ending, or maybe preferred ending, whatever. Wherever you want the story to end or expect the story to end, you get to experiment sometimes. For example, I had players hopping dimensions.
Yep.
And instead of having them go to the Marvel dimension and the Marvel universe and the DC universe.
Yeah, I know.
and
My
stuff like
eyes
that.
are. I'm not rolling. I'm not rolling my eyes.
The Marvel Universe D&D crossover would be.
Yeah.
Hey, there is a Marvel role-playing game.
Yeah, fair.
And instead of having them go to like all of these places that are already defined, I started making stuff up because I wanted to try my hand at making strange worlds. I'm not to say I didn't have them cross over with some other universes. They did end up in the Star Trek Defiant at one point.
Wow.
You're not going to get a reaction out of me. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I didn't think you would.
I'm leaving that to you all over
I'm
there.
just wow. I knew about it, but still wow. But I got to admit, somebody did put me in the as a player, put me and my party into the Smurf universe. So I know.
I have even actually.
No.
I have no reaction to that because I'm scared. I don't know where that leads.
Did you fight Gargamel?
I did. It was pretty.
CR35, surely.
That's more than aspect of
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I now have stuff to look up. CR35.
Challenge rating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
My bad.
No, you're good.
Aspect of Bahamut is only 30. I think that's the size.
What was the cat's name? The cat was actually more problem.
Oh, I actually don't remember the cat's name in this
Yeah.
one.
The only name I know of in that universe is Gargamel.
Pantheon.
Okay.
It's a pantheon.
Pantheon. The
They're not
Smurfs.
gods.
Pantheon.
Papa Smurf might be a Titan. You don't know.
Yeah, Papa Smurf, Gargamel, and
Smurfette.
Smurfette. Yep.
Boom. Got it.
Those are the only three that I know.
Oh my gosh.
All right, fellas.
And
I'm gonna before we go on it. I'm gonna nip the Smurf thing in the bud. I don't know what you were about to go with that.
Yeah. So back to what,
No.
what I was saying before.
Yeah, what were you smurfing about?
Smurfing about. What could that possibly mean?
Anyway,
Oh, shush your Smurf.
No.
Yeah, I know. This is weak.
so cringe.
Yeah, they don't all land.
Kyle, what you got?
So instead of drawing from all of these already existing stories,
Yeah.
I just started making up what would be an interesting place for them to go.
Sure.
How about a society of dwarf, a world where there's only dwarfs, they all live underground, and they worship a statue of Mimir from Norse mythology? Or a world that is 90% ocean, and
Water
the
world.
land that does exist forms back up into floating spires, makes a entire rotational trip around the globe, and then falls back onto one landmass. So there's never any like growth on the continent because it's always moving.
Well, that sounds a lot better than them showing up on the Defiant.
They definitely enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I kind of like that notion of trying your hand at, almost like fully realized creativity and creative license. And something I wanted to pay specific homage to is on one of our uploads, our first episode, we actually got a comment. And the comment was a bit of a discussion as well as a question. But I wanted to highlight a distinction that the commenter left. And it was tying this question together of essentially when we're making these games, epics, what have you, are we really wondering what the story is about, or wondering what the game is about? And I think we hit on that in the first episode, and that I feel like that resonated to some extent. And I think it's just as true here, right? True, it matters what the story's about. Right. It matters what your NPCs want. It matters what your end goal is. But really, the game is about a group of people sitting around the table and having fun.
Yeah.
People becoming friends,
right.
Some lifelong friendships, some, slightly adversarial relationships, but it tells a good story. And so when you say things, Kyle, like using all this creative license and all of these things, I want to frame it for the younger, or maybe even just less experienced DMs. The point is not to do all of those things just for the sake of a very compelling story. It's for the sake of a very compelling game.
Yeah.
If you can keep the players at the table having fun, laughing, joking, showing up next week excited, you've succeeded.
If you have fun too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I always want to add that in.
Yeah.
I mean, the DM is not there to serve the players. The DM is there to have fun with the players. So,
What's your favorite quote? The DM is a player too?
Yep.
So, to round us out a little bit and kind of, land the bird, so to say, I've got one last question for y'all. We've danced around it a little bit. If your answer is, if we've repeated it, feel free to tell me. But I feel like we've talked a lot about, here's the strategy, here's how you do it, here's implementation, here's execution. That's a lot of energy, right? That's a lot of effort. I feel like that's an intimidating thing for new DMs as well. Knowing what the right amount of effort is, knowing when you've gone too far, and especially burnout. I feel like burnout is very common. 3 extremely tight adventures followed by a 4th one that's just because it's so hard to keep it going for all month. How do you guys keep from running out of steam?
Well, again, if it's not fun for you. So I like to make sure that where the story going not only involves where the players want to go based on what they've told me and their backstories and whatnot, but also does something that I want to see happen. I like to treat my players as experimental subjects. So I'm conducting my own little social...
We're doing experiments again. Come on, Jackson.
Nope. You're not putting Jasmine over me again either. It's not happening.
I didn't do Jasmine last time.
That's true. You thought about it.
I did squeeze your voice and make it squeaky.
Alvin the Chipmunks. Dude, I'll wear a red sweatshirt with the A on it. It's actually kind of a fire fit.
But seriously, I like to put my players in complex situations where, there's some discussion on what is the most moral thing to do. Not that they are dedicated on doing the most moral thing, but kind of a little of a Star Trek vibe in that, here's a moral quandary. What are you going to do about it?
And that kind of drives your personal interest in
it's fun. I mean, I don't do it to the exclusion of their fun. I'm just like, hey, here's a weird situation. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
So
trolley problematic.
Yeah. Trolley problem's a great example.
Sure. How about you, Kyle?
Well, so like I mentioned earlier, getting to experiment with new worlds because I love telling stories. It's one of my favorite things to do. And being able to tell an interesting story or make an interesting world is something I really like doing. And getting them to interact with it is a very fun thing. But one thing I would definitely tell DMs, and so I'm going to look you in the eye.
Yeah.
If your players are really pissing you off, talk to them. Much like every relationship you will ever have in life, communication is important. And if they can't respect that and they just say, we're going to intentionally piss you off until you die, find new friends because they don't respect you.
It's a great point.
And you'll almost never have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
To be clear, most people will go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll pull it back. And they'll slip up every now and again. They'll forget it when you had that conversation. Give them some patience. Remind them every now and again, and you will have a much happier, friendlier game. And also be prepared for them to do that in return to you. Hey, you keep throwing this one enemy at us that you think is absolutely hilarious. Please stop. It's we're not having fun anymore.
Wow, communicating as a way to have a good game That's just wow.
Groundbreaking. But it is true. I mean, I feel like that's honestly where I feel like I lose the most energy is worrying about whether or not the players are going to have fun. Sometimes I spend more time worrying about whether or not the players are going to like what I've prepped than what I did prepping.
Yeah.
And I think that the difficulty with that is you can get so caught in that trap of making it a presentation, of making it a sales pitch to some extent, of your creative abilities, your capacity to improv, your ability to write box text. You know what I mean? Like you're trying so hard to spice up all of your elements that you're contributing that it's very easy to forget how communicative the game is.
So this kind of came up in the panel session yesterday. Do you feel like imposter syndrome fits in what you're feeling there?
I would say at this point, no. Like at this point, I've run enough quite good, not to toot my own horn, sessions that I've been told by the players were quite good. And, asked how I did it kind of thing. That there are times where I feel like I've executed very well. And because I have that ability to, discern, I feel like I've also executed poorly sometimes. And I would argue that the gap between those two is often whether or not I'm excited about what's happening. And I think the key is, in a weird way, allowing yourself to worry, allowing yourself to see your players as something other than your friends who are gathering to sit at the table and have a good time that you're facilitating.
Right.
It can make that happen. It can make you not have fun.
Yeah.
It can make it into something that's less enjoyable for you and by proxy, less enjoyable for them.
Yeah. But in a way, you're kind of coming around to, the point we've been talking about earlier. If you are having fun, then it's much more likely that they are having fun.
I think absolutely. I kind of...
At the same time, you can't have fun at their expense. So,
One of the things that actually happened not too long ago within my game is that I've been playing the same campaign for about 4 years, running it. And I mean,
which
players...
is pretty impressive by itself.
Yeah.
And the guys were just getting tired of it. One guy was saying, I've kind of completed my story arc. This character is getting old. There's not anything more I want to say with him. There was one guy, instead of telling me that he was getting sick and tired of this campaign, he said, I am not going to play anymore, but I'm going to come because I like hanging out with you. And then I took that as, I should probably start wrapping up this campaign. And I said that to him, and he was like, oh, really? Okay, yeah. I'll continue playing so we can wrap it up. And...
That's a less good way of communicating.
Which is not a great way of communicating, but it got...
It was better than nothing. Right?
It was better than nothing, and it got the point across. And you come to the realization that, I came to the realization that this was my first game. It was my first world. I loved telling stories through its lens, and I was dragging them through it weekend by weekend because I didn't want it to end.
Sure.
And you come to the realization that, sometimes you need to move on to the next thing.
It's run its course in a good way. Honestly, a beautiful way.
Yep.
Absolutely.
There's a point where you can squeeze something until it's not fun anymore, and I was almost getting to that point.
Hey, there are lots of shows that have done that.
Yeah.
We could beat a dead horse on shows that have beat a dead horse.
So basically, your players have basically said you were jumping the shark. Do y'all get that reference?
Yes, I do.
Does
get
that reference transition
I thought that meant.
I guess not.
Jumping the shark, I feel like, is more about going above and beyond the scope to try and make it interesting. Whereas what yours sounds like is kind of, how you have The Simpsons carry on for 26 seasons.
Or Family Guy.
Yeah, at some point you're like, look, dude, excellent show, really awesome up through season 10. Yeah. We're on season 23. Have we not explored these characters enough?
Homer was funny in the 90s, and now it's just a fat guy who gets drunk and almost kills himself.
Okay. There was a TV show called Happy Days, which I bet you guys have at least heard of.
Yes.
Nope.
I've heard of it.
It's my fault, too. I raised him.
Yeah, that's true. There's no one else here to blame.
I know, right? So, in any case, in Happy Days, there was a whole event where Fonzie was on water skis and jumped the shark. And from there, the show just wasn't as good anymore. And not because he jumped the shark, but just, they'd kind of said everything, but they kept pulling it along afterwards. So that's all it means, is that, most shows get to a point where they jump the shark, and it's time to wrap it up,
Man,
start something new.
Every time I've heard jump the shark, it had always been about like you're jumping to conclusions, you're getting where we're trying to go too fast and skipping over something.
See, I'd always heard it like, you're watching a really grounded show in World War II. And they're like, it's gritty, it's awesome, it's like showing all the close quarter stuff, then you're getting all this great character development, and somewhere along the way they just start running out of ideas, and then aliens show up and do prosthetic arms or like pull, and you're like, that's what I've always heard jumping the shark is. It's like the moment that you see aliens and Tom Cruise on a 2016 motorcycle, you're like, all right, that's enough. Like, I've had enough of this.
Is that like teleporting your D&D players onto the Defiant or Smurf World?
Okay, probably. I think the Smurf world requires a level of reaching that I'm uncomfortable with to be like,
More than the Defiant? I mean, at least the Smurf world has got
honest.
a little bit of a... not that I'm defending it, trust me. I mean, it was in a Ravenloft campaign. It was just...
So you went from a very serious campaign to Smurfs.
Tom.
That explains everything. Tom is a real person that we know. He is one of the... you guys remember me mentioning the dad who has his sons explain pop culture references to him? That's Tom.
Yeah.
And with the Defiant, I had already established a world where they were dimension hopping and going to other places.
I know. I just like to tease you about
We're screwed.
your maximalist campaigns and whatnot.
Maximalist.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard that.
Maximism. I love it.
Well, what do you know? Learn something new every day.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here to educate you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, fellas, kind of tying us in and winding us down as we're hoping to not jump the shark this episode. Is there anything?
Many episodes before we jump the shark. I'm making that prediction.
I like that. What, if anything?
I hope so. We're only on number 4. I should sure hope so.
Yeah. What, if anything, do you still have that you would like to tell not the players, well, it could be the players, to tell the listeners makes you go from somebody who's just thinking about it to running a game? If you had one last piece of advice, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, what you got?
For someone trying to propel themselves into doing it?
Sure.
I'll let you go first.
Get your best friends together, the ones that are the kindest to you and the easiest, and run a one-shot. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts, which used to make a lot more sense when donuts were less than $1. I realize that campaign might turn into a recurring one because it's not as hard as it looks. And if you got good players, they will help you through it, as they should.
Very nice. What you got?
Mine is make a post on your Discord community or Facebook or Instagram or whatever of a local game shop or nerd group and just say, hey, is anyone looking for a D&D game? Or how many people here want to play D&D but don't have a group? And just see how many messages you get. Because sometimes you won't get that many, and you just have to be prepared for that. But a lot of times, especially in places where there are plenty of nerds, you will get a torrent of people going, ooh, me.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to play. There's a lot more people than you think that want to play, especially because sometimes it feels like D&D is so niche that no one does it.
Yeah,
But there are so many people who do.
Yeah.
So it's like the opposite of my voice. Yeah, I'm saying try with your best friends. You're like, try with complete strangers. That way you can walk away.
Yeah.
I've actually got a middle ground for both of you.
Okay.
So to the listener, try it. Honestly, just maybe bring it up is the right thing. Bring it up with people you wouldn't expect would like it. And I'll say that from the angle of I run a few games right now One of them is with a group of people who are exactly who you would expect.
Yeah.
One of them, the two of them DM actually. The others have played extensively, and it's really, really fun. We have a good time. And then another group I play with, only one guy could even spell D&D. If you spotted him, the N and one of the D's. And the other guy,
knowing where you graduated from, I'm not surprised that they couldn't spell D&D.
Well, the other guys, I mean, we all went to school together. Like we mostly go to football tailgates together. It was not the group I expected.
Yeah.
But I brought it up at some point, and they were like, "Oh, that could, that'd be whatever. It'd probably be lame." And they were like, "Just pitch it to us, and we'll see if we like it." And I pitched it, and all of a sudden they were like, "How do these character sheets work?" From then on, it just became this big thing, and they actually text me more than anybody else. They're like, "Are you free? We want to play." And
You know,
Go ahead.
You're very right. I used to have a group that was 2 dudes who were in the military, a guy with a criminal record, a stoner,
those aren't the same guy.
No, not the same guy. Sorry, not one stoner, 2. Still not the same guy who had the record. And I wouldn't know how to describe them other than they like anime and they are incredibly gay. So you might actually expect that one to like D&D, but all the others were these. And also, you will find your players when you already have them to like very strange things that you would not expect.
I like that step back 3 from you there, Kyle.
You would not expect some of your players to like the things they do, because I have a group right now, all but one is a man. There's only one person there who's not a man. All of them are maybe not the manliest men you've ever met, but still everyone there, with exception of the woman and one other person who's too young, has a big bushy beard. One of them works a factory job. Another's a technical writer for like military stuff. I don't know what he does. And all of them want to play a full campaign that they have taken to calling the Pretty Pretty Princess campaign, where every single one of them is going to play a character that is a princess.
Oh gosh.
So before we dive down that, we're gonna leave that Dr. Phil episode where it is. My point that I'm gonna close Kyle out on there is you would be surprised who will play with you if you bring it up.
Yep.
I wanted to add to that.
Yes.
And get far away from the Pretty Pretty Princess thing. But one of my groups was the over 40 singles group. What the organizer came to me and said, everybody wants to play D&D, but nobody can run. Can you run? And so that campaign is one of the 2 I'm running, and it's been running for 2 years. Another one was, we were at work. This is before you started, and I had a team of interns that were working with me one summer, and they just all went, "Oh my God, you play D&D," and they had me start a campaign. So your point of people want to play anywhere. It's a pretty good one. Our branch that came up last year, and
Several
everyone
times.
and I was like, I can't run another game.
Yeah, neither can I.
And you didn't want to run it either, but
Yeah.
half the group wanted to try it. So we ought to circle back to that at some point.
That we ought to. And kind of with that circling us back, I feel like that's a good point for us to close out our
we probably
discussion.
ought to.
It's starting to get late into the night. Anything else you guys would like to say to the viewers?
Real quick, if you are in a college, they tend to have clubs for role-playing groups, if you're looking for one.
Good point.
Okay.
Rob, anything?
If you have any comments for us, if you have any strong feelings about Smurfs or anything else, but really about
Hopefully strong negative feelings. I don't want to see overly strong positive feelings in the comment section. Please leave those.
strong positive, but remember, YouTube does have standards. We hear. So, but really, we love hearing from you guys. So, and we'll talk about what you guys post. So, keep the conversation coming. We're trying to build a community here.
That we are. And with that, thank you very much for joining us around the fire. Go get a long rest. We've got First Watch.